There is the brand and there is branding. Did you know those are not interchangeable terms? We hear so much about the need for a strong personal brand. Your mentor or coach keeps talking about building a brand. But what do these buzzwords and sound bites really mean to you, to your brand? You see, the disruptors, the thought leaders, and the winners are going beyond just building a brand. Where strategy, innovation, and brand meets is breakthrough. Welcome to the Brand Breakthrough Experience. Hello, hey. Welcome to those of you who may be new here. And if you're not new, welcome back. I am Rachel Wilson Thibodeau, and once again, I am really excited to have a wonderful guest in the virtual guest chair. And I'm also excited to kind of reintroduce this podcast. Some of you know formerly as Project Get Out Your Own Way. It is now the Brand Breakthrough Experience. And the Brand Breakthrough Experience is really for those who want to go beyond just building a brand. I mean, that's okay. But they want to go beyond that to brand breakthrough. And what that looks like is brand equity, which entails a few things, but the gist really is creating brand equity, brand value, essentially. And that tends to translate into brand sustainability, brand loyalty. And in this increasingly AI digitally driven world that we're in, that is even more important. And so I want to bring you guests that know about breakthrough and who do things a bit differently, because we really want to speak to our disruptors, those who are disrupting the status quo, who are okay with disrupting the status quo, our thought leaders. And so I have someone today who we're going to get into some really, I think, juicy conversation. And I challenge you, and I certainly hope that it will challenge your way of thinking and may even shift the way you think about certain things. And especially if you are one of those thought leaders, a disruptor. Also, if you are a coach or consultant, some of the folks that she certainly works with. So without further ado, I want to welcome Tamar Stolz.
Yes,
Hello there.
hello. Hi,
Hi, hello.
Rachel.
So
Hi.
I want to have you, because I know often, the host is reading a bio or talks about what their guests, the wonderful um, things that their guests have done. And I want you to share that in your own words. Tell us who you are, what you do currently, and why it's so dope.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is exciting. I have my own podcast as well. And I'm used to being in the host chair. So it's super exciting for me to be as a guest. And I'm just watching you lead with such confidence. It's very inspiring. So
Oh, thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you for having me. And thank you everybody for tuning in and listening. This is, as I was listening to Rachel just talk about like the new direction that she's heading in. I mean, it's so much needed. And thank you, Rachel, for bringing this to the world, because this is a topic and a conversation that just needs to be spread on loudspeakers, I think. So really, it's an honor for me. I mean, I don't know if this is the first, it sounds like this is the first episode with the new direction that the podcast is heading in, which
This
is
is the second, actually.
the second. I mean, I'm
Almost.
this is just an honor to be at the beginning of such a transformational topic. So thank you. My name is Tamar Stolz. I am a proud wife and mother of two delicious kids. I have a almost 5-year-old and 2-year-old. And that is when I talk about like who I am, that's my identity that I'm very, very, very proud of. As for a career as a professional, I have a background in UX strategy and workshop facilitation. I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. family-owned business, my grandparents, my father. That's just all I knew. That's what I grew up in. And I always wanted to have something to do with the business world. I
Mm.
always had skills in creative problem solving. Love doing Lego and puzzles and just figuring out how to make things better, more efficient, innovative, creative. And so I kind of wanted to find a career that blended both the business aspect of things, but also the creative problem solving, more like hands-on. I ended up landing in UX design. I always had a skill
Mm.
for technology, but never ever could sit in a chair for more than 10 minutes and do any coding. So I needed something that
Oh. Yeah, and I wanted to hear more about UX design because I think that's a term that some have heard before, maybe kind of familiar with, but may not
yeah.
completely understand.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a good question, and thank you for pointing that out. So UX design stands for user experience design is what it stands for, and the job of a user experience designer is really, in my definition, after working in the field now for almost 7 years, it's the job of a user experience designer is to bridge the gap of alignment between business strategy, what the business is trying to do, and what the product team is executing, to
Mm.
bridge that gap of alignment, okay, and to make sure that as a business, we are delivering the best possible experience either to our users if it's a piece of software or to our customers if it's a product or service. So
Mm.
the user experience designer is in charge of really what the user's experience is. So I was working in the software industry. So I was working with technology, making sure that our technology was easy to use, it was accessible, it was a, seamless process where, we look at the layouts. If you're looking at a mobile app or a website, right? How does someone experience it? What is the layout? What is the, a little bit more techie, I guess, which we don't have to get into. But really, I had the opportunity to sit. If you look like a Venn diagram, I kind of got to sit in the middle of the business and then our users, our customers, our
Mm-hmm.
clients. And
Gotcha.
so I really enjoyed this, the blend, because I got exposure to the business side of things and what the business objective goals were, what the business was trying to accomplish through their software, their service, their product. And I also got to speak to our clients, to the customers, right, to the users of the software, and understand what their frustrations were with the software. Was the software meeting their needs? Were they, you know, excited to use it, or were there things that were getting in the way and making things more complicated? So lots of problem solving, lots of strategy.
Let me just jump in right there because a lot of what we do in terms of creating these brand breakthroughs is centered around the customer experience. I think customer experience is so important, and it's something that is probably underrated again, especially in the online and digital space. So I'm curious, how did working with users and interacting with users and really, getting to what is important to them, how is that translated into what you do now?
Yeah. So so I worked in corporate for a little over 5 years, and I left about a year ago. We talk about disruptors, so that was me for 5 years.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Because the gap of alignment between what the business was trying to accomplish and what I, as the UX designer, was delivering to our customers, the gap
Mm-hmm.
was so big, I could not go to sleep at night because I knew that
Mm.
I was working on projects that would deliver zero ROI to our business.
Oh, wow.
We would go
Mm.
through the product backlog. We would pick a project that the product team felt was important, but then I would raise my hand and say, 1 second. We just heard in the company meeting that the business
Mm-hmm.
objective goals for the coming quarter are XYZ.
Mm-hmm.
This project has nothing to do with any of those business objective goals, and they're not going to deliver any results that the business wants to see.
Ooh.
So, how's this going to work? And I was very quickly,
How did they respond to that?
I was very quickly labeled, as you could say, we call it the disruptor. So that was kind of Tamar Stolz for 5 years in corporate. And I realized very quickly that I was not going to be a favored member on the team. However, I knew that if I wanted to sleep at night as if I carried the weight of the business on my shoulders, that's just my personality. I take responsibility very seriously. And so I knew that I was not going to stay quiet until I understood that there was strategic alignment going on. So I made it in corporate as long as I possibly could to learn all the things that corporate teaches us. And then I went off on my own about a year ago doing exactly this, trying to make some noise in the industry, in the world, and raise awareness around this topic of strategic alignment, because it's something that as entrepreneurs we struggle with, and we can go into it more as small business owners, as startups, early stage startups, big enterprises. This topic of strategic alignment is something that applies to each and every one of us. It can be personally, it could be professionally, it could be financially, whatever it might be. This topic of strategic alignment became my number one passion, and that is really what I bring into everything that I do.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. And guys, if I didn't say it already, you may want to take some notes. So whether that's a good old pen and paper, your computer, your tablet, provided you're not driving, don't want you to take notes while you're driving, but otherwise you can take notes. So let's dive a bit deeper into this concept of strategic alignment. And I like even the way that sounds. It's like it kind of flows. And I'm really big on being strategic. So what really does that look like? What is that about?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think it's important, for those of you who are listening, I think it's important to kind of close your eyes and visualize where you are, either in your business or personally, right? However, when you're listening to this podcast, whatever you're applying, whether it's to your own personal life or professionally or to your business, right? Whatever your situation is, before we could talk about alignment, the very first question is, what are you trying to align to, right? What is the big picture? What is the
Okay,
goal?
hold on again. Okay, you can't just drop that and just gloss over it, ma'am. I just want to marinate on that a bit, because we hear so much. We read so much about alignment. Like alignment is one of those kind of, or has become kind of a buzzword. You have to align. Are you aligned? This is something to consider. But you said we need to consider what we align to. Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Go on.
So when I sit down with a client, or for the many times I tried to sit down with many managers, it's always the first question that I asked. What is the business objective goal? What is the goal for the
Mm-hmm.
team? What is your goal as an entrepreneur? What is your goal as whatever you might be, a parent, a spouse, whatever it is?
Mm-hmm.
What is your goal? What is your goal for your brand? What is that bigger picture vision that you're trying to get to? Because if you can't answer that question, then you can't align to anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you in alignment? Alignment to what?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that's usually where the client gets really upset. And really, I can see the overwhelm start to settle in, because they look at me and they're like, what do you mean? I'm
They
like,
haven't really thought about that.
they haven't thought about it. And that realization is very overwhelming, and it's a very unsettling place to be. It doesn't have to be. And we work through it and we get through it actually pretty quickly. But that moment when a person realizes this buzzword of alignment is something that I've been taking notes on, except I haven't stopped to think, who am I and what am I aligning to?
Mm-hmm.
So can't really move forward, right? It's kind of hard.
Yeah.
And so what
I,
happens is, yeah,
I'm just thinking that is a question that could make people even uncomfortable.
yeah, yeah,
But that's what it's all about. It's realizing that you have to step out of your comfort zone. There's growth and progress and amazing things outside of
yes.
your comfort zone.
100%. And you're not going to leave this episode hanging. I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm going to give you a really practical solution to help you. But you have to be able to sit in this uncomfortable realization, because otherwise it's like you're stepping into a hamster wheel, and you will continue to run in that hamster wheel until you can answer the question.
Mm.
It's actually like, it's a very, if you stop and really think about what that means, it's like if you get in the car, right? So I have a 2-year-old
Mhm.
who loves to be in the car. He just likes to be in the car. He likes to be in the driver's seat. So we go into the
Gosh.
car, and he sits at the wheel, the car's off, and he just pretends to drive, right? Now he's not going anywhere, but he
Yeah.
thinks he's driving, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he thinks he's in control. He is at the driver's seat, and he's driving.
Mhm.
But we all know he's not going to get anywhere, right? Because there's no destination involved here, right?
Ooh.
Right? So
Mhm.
the first thing is, and to add on to that, there have been times where he wants to just be in the car and drive, and I get into the car and I have no idea where I'm going. I just drive. Do I get
Mm.
anything done? I mean, my son's happy. He's preoccupied. But I'm not,
Mhm.
there's no destination involved here. I'm just going to go around the block, right? So, but if I have to go to the store, right? Because I know that I have to get certain things, well then I know that if I'm going to get in the car, I know that the end result is that I'm going to land in the parking lot of the shopping,
Yeah.
plaza. How I choose to get there, depending on the time of day and the traffic, right? It might look a little bit different, but I know that I have to end up at
Yeah.
the store. So if you don't know where it is that you're going and what you're trying to get to, then this word alignment is just not applicable. Alignment requires two things, right? Like two objects. If you close your eyes, two things that have to be in alignment together, right?
Mhm.
So if you think about where you're at now, where are you currently like standing? That's one. But number
Mhm.
two, what it is you're aligning to, right? That has to be there. Otherwise, you can't align one object with itself, like with itself. If you're not
Mhm.
watching and you're just listening, I'm like using my hands to kind of, show
Right.
what I'm trying to say, right? Because this is like, it's not like a tangible thing. But again, as a visual learner, right? Like I would just pull out my whiteboard and show you. It's you have to, two things have to be in alignment, right? So
Yeah.
again, first thing, very first thing that I sit down with the client and I say is, what are you trying to do?
Mhm.
And it's a simple, it could be something as simple as, I want to make an impact in this world. Dream big, shoot for the stars. I don't care what it is, but it has to be
Mhm.
something, right?
Mhm.
I want to provide for my family. I want to, what is like the deeper, and usually what ends up happening is people tell me, I want to make money. Okay.
Mm.
That's true.
Yep.
That's true. That's on the way. But
Yeah.
that's not the end goal. That's not really what you want. What do you really want?
Mm.
Well, if I had money, then I could provide for my family. Oh, okay. Okay. So you want to provide for your family. Okay. Let's take it a
Mhm.
step further, right? And then we continue to drill down, to drill down. Eventually, we end up getting goals like, I want to make an impact on this world. I want to use my skills and my talents to give to others. I want to drive my passion, right? Like the bigger picture vision that people have for themselves and the way that
Mhm.
they want to contribute and give to the world, right? Because for every one of you listening, you have something to offer to the world. Each and every one of us has a gift, has a talent, has a
Oh,
skill and ability,
absolutely.
right? So back to strategic alignment, right? Sounds really fancy, cool, and awesome, but what is it? So breaking it down into the two words, so alignment, right? Alignment is making sure, number one, what are you aligning to? Where are you at right now, and where are you trying to go?
Mhm.
Okay. The strategic part is, once you know where you are and where you're trying to go, now how are you going to get there?
Mm.
The only way we're going to
Mhm.
know how to get there is if we map it out. And usually when I sit down with people, they're at a point where they've already tried. I've tried all the courses, I've tried all the programs, I
Mhm.
bought all the resources, I downloaded all the frameworks, I bought all the blueprints, I got Tamar, like you're my last stop. If this doesn't work, I'm out. Right? We're
They've
an
done
early
all the
stage startup.
things.
Right. We're an early stage startup. The funding is cutting. So either give us the solution or we're out. Right? I'm an entrepreneur. I have to provide for my family. If you don't give me the solution, I have to go find a job. I'm in a relationship. If you don't help me figure this out, he's going to leave. She's going to leave. Whatever it is, right? That's usually where I catch people, because we're in a world where everyone is selling the answer. Download my framework and you will make $30,000 in the next 30 minutes.
Oh, of course.
Right? We've all come across those things. And so number one is, again, so we have alignment. Where am I now? Where am I going? And then we have the strategy. Strategy is, how am I going to get there? Well, number one, what have you done up until this point? What's not working? And what's standing in the way? Right? What's standing in the way from getting to where you're going to get to? And once you know what's standing in the way.
And I want to just stop you right there as well. I think that is really important and something that is often not done. Doing kind of an audit, and I know you didn't use the term audit, but taking a step back and looking at what is not working versus what is working. And in some cases, nothing is working. But I think that is why some people find themselves on the hamster wheel, if you will, pun intended, and continue going down the wrong path and kind of repeating the same mistakes. Although it's okay as long as they're being consistent. Wink, wink. The reason they keep doing that is because they never take a step back and say, okay, is this really working? Or no, this is not working. Or let me see what all I've done that is not working or hasn't worked.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I think that's not done enough. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So back to strategy, it's where, what stands in the way and how am I going to get there? So 4 questions from 2 words, right? Strategic alignment.
Mm-hmm.
Where am I going? Right? You got everyone that's listening, write this down. Where am I going? Where am I now? Where am I currently? What's my current reality? What stands in the way? What's between where I am now and where I'm trying to get to? Right? What are those blocks? What are those roadblocks and those challenges? It's question number 3. What stands in the way? Question number 4 is, how am I going to get there? And those 4 questions are the 4 questions that I use to work with every single one of my clients, an entrepreneur, solopreneur, early stage startups, small to mid-sized SaaS companies. Same questions across the board. You could apply it to your life on a daily level, personally, professionally, financially. Those 4 questions. I do it daily. I do it weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. Those 4 questions.
4 questions.
Those 4 questions. I'll give you a funny example. My daughter was throwing an epic tantrum. She's almost 5. Epic tantrum. I was going crazy. I stepped to the side and I said, okay, 1 second. My goal right now is to give my child dinner. Okay? She needs to sit down and eat dinner. Right now, she's not eating dinner because she's upset with the specific dinner that I prepared. My goal is for her is to eat the dinner, but ultimately to have a loving mother, right? That's really what I want. I want her to have a mother who loves her. I want her to be healthy. I want her to know I care about her. I don't really, really care if she eats, a bowl of pasta or bagel and cream cheese. I don't care. I want you to be healthy. I want you to be strong. So right now that's not happening. So what do I have to do to get her, right, to sit down? Until now, I've tried raising my voice. I've tried, threatening that if she doesn't eat dinner, she's not going to be able to go play outside with her friends, right? That's not working. So maybe I need to just take a deep breath. Remember that she's in kindergarten. Remember that she had a really long day today. Her energy is, at a low level, right? And her tolerance is in the negatives. And I can take a deep breath, be calm, and come back into the room with a re-energized presence and try to make the dinner that we have more exciting. Because ultimately, I know what I want for her. What I've been doing right now is it's just not working. So I need to stop. I need to reset and come back into the room.
So Tamar, did this work on your almost 5-year-old?
It did.
Okay. Well, hey, I say if it worked on her, it is a winner. Because
But I want you to know something. And for all of you listening who are saying, that's really nice, Tamar, that's not going to apply to me in my situation. Well, then guess what? I challenge you. And send in the question, send in the scenario, because I have yet to come across a scenario where this has not worked. Because this is
Mhm.
not me. This is not my own like genius. This is like the way the human brain, this is, I mean, there's so much like cognitive, behavioral,
Mhm.
like there's so much stuff. Again, like if I had all day, I could, because like a lot of what I do is like it's based in psychological human behavior. And I have like a few different certifications in
Yeah,
understanding
I mean,
leadership
so
and
you
human
didn't just
behavior. And
grab this from,
this is, yeah, no, this is what I've now called the action mapping method. It's all about
Mhm.
taking action and mapping it out, getting the chaos out of our brain, putting it onto paper so we can see it, right? But ultimately, the action mapping method is the framework that I've used and refined and consolidated and refined all of my teachings and learnings and intuition and just through my experience of really working, I guess, as a UX strategist, but also as a workshop facilitator, and really bridging this gap of alignment between business and product strategy. The action mapping method is what I ended up, how I end up bringing all of those things together to
Mhm.
help people go from just being stuck and overwhelmed and unsure and
Mhm.
really on the
Mhm.
verge of giving up to having real concrete structure and clarity, decision making and prioritization systems that they can put in place so that when the overwhelm does come, because it will come, because that is life, then they
Mhm.
have a practical tool to be able to move forward.
So it sounds like the action mapping method is certainly a framework that can help with something you just mentioned, overwhelm, because we see a lot of that, whether it's with business owners, entrepreneurs, founders, business executives, professionals. A lot of people are overwhelmed right now, and in particular in their jobs, their businesses, their careers, not to mention, I mean, the personal aspect, family life, and all that. That's a whole other conversation. But give me an idea of results, or just outright share a few of the results you've seen in helping people with overwhelm and in helping them gain some clarity by using the action mapping method.
Yeah. So I'm going to differentiate. I have like two different, um, I guess, groups of people that I help. I work with solopreneurs and entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the work I end up doing with those individuals is more, I would say, more like personal development. It's really using the action mapping method in
Mm-hmm.
their daily lives. It
Gotcha.
spills over into
Okay.
business, but it's usually more focused on like
Yeah.
personal development.
Yeah.
And then also working with early stage startups, usually small businesses. So I would say
Mm-hmm.
small to mid-size. Um, I don't know, like between 150 to 300 employees. So small to
Yeah.
mid-size. Um, I really don't deal with enterprise level corporate. I was at Experian, that's as big as I got. And
Mm-hmm.
that's like a whole different, that's a whole different
Oh yeah.
uh, I don't know what's like the right word to use, but it's its own,
It
creature.
I think you pretty much nailed it. It's a different beast,
Beast.
so to
Yes.
speak. Maybe I shouldn't
Yes.
say beast.
Exactly. But so yeah, so again, if you're listening as an entrepreneur, solopreneur, or if you're listening as a small business owner, business executive, um, really like this really just it applies to everyone. So just, I guess, filter what I'm saying through the lens of your situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the action mapping method, I would say, is the results are helping people externalize the noise and the chaos that's going on in their head, and being able to visualize it, understand the big picture, and
Mm-hmm.
then breaking things down into clear priorities. So this is not like a productivity
Mm.
hack. This is literally about just channeling the overwhelm into clarity and into aligned action. So, for example, if I'm working with a small business and they're having a lot of broken collaboration, right? Everybody just has their calendars booked with meetings, and the result
Yeah.
of the meeting is to schedule another meeting, and things aren't going anywhere, and projects aren't happening, and it's just, there's just a mess. It's almost always because there is a gap in collaboration and communication cross functionally.
Mm.
So the
Ooh.
action mapping method has been able to bridge the gap of alignment between different teams, communicating and collaborating, also between leadership and managers, right? It's like leadership has their big picture vision for what's going on,
Oh
but the way it
yeah.
gets communicated and executed to the rest of the company is challenged.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've really been able to go in and see tremendous, tremendous results. It's unbelievable how something so simple and so just basic, when it's done and it's repeated and it's mastered over and over and over again, it's just unbelievable to see the results. It's like
Mm-hmm.
what is this magic? It's like, no, it's not magic. It's just understanding human
Yeah.
behavior, understanding how organizations are structured, right? People, so much of it is personal development. It's, we have our way of doing things. This is how we've always done it, and this is what we're. And it's hard to say that what you're doing for so long is just not working anymore. People don't like change. Change is hard, right?
This is
So
true.
it's a humbling experience to be able to sit down with the CEO and to say to him, look, I know you're not going to sleep at night because you're concerned with your engagement scores and your customer satisfaction scores, right? And he's looking at me like, right, but
Mm-hmm.
what? Okay, tell me
Mm-hmm.
more, right? I thought
Mm-hmm.
you just do like UX stuff. And then I turn
Mm-hmm.
to the CFO and I say, okay, and Mr. CFO, I know that you're not going to sleep at night because you're concerned with the ROI for the business objective goal for the right. And then you sit down with the product, director and you just
Mm-hmm.
talk their language. All of a sudden the whole room is looking at me and they're like, okay, what is this method? And people, it's so funny. I had a situation where there was a team that was known to be like stubborn. They're not budging. This is how they do things. And I was determined. You are not going to stop me. I got the manager somehow to get on a call with me. And I
He
started
said
to
somehow.
somehow I got the I got him on a call and I literally said, I know that you're overwhelmed with, and I listed out the whole list of
Mm-hmm.
things. And there's just like silence. And I pull up my online collaborative whiteboard and sticky notes. And I started making sticky notes of all the challenges that I knew that he was having in his position, in his leadership position. I started to just talk his language. And all of a sudden he said,
Mm-hmm.
okay. And I said, and because we're doing all of these things, do you understand that it's affecting the business in this way? Do you understand that the client satisfaction scores have decreased by this and this amount? Do you understand that we've, the ROI on this and this project for the past 3 quarters, right, has not. So suddenly you start talking and I say, right, I said, so in order for us to increase our satisfaction scores and to deliver the ROI and to, increase user engagements and whatever the business objective goals were, right? In order for us to do that, we need to come together and collaborate and communicate and align with the rest of the teams that are involved in executing the project, right? The business executives and leadership can sit and scream until they're blue in the face about what it is that they're
Mm-hmm.
trying to do, but ultimately it's the product team and software development that's executing the product, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
if you're working, for yourself, if you have everything in your head, that's wonderful. But if it's not being communicated to the rest of the people, whether it's however your delivery is, if you're on Substack, if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on whatever social media or however you're marketing yourself, if it's not clearly communicated and it's not understood what it is that you're doing or what you're like trying to accomplish, how you can help people,
Mm-hmm.
then you're just gonna continue to go in circles. And so to be able to stop and pause and say, 1 second, what am I doing? Where am I trying to go? What am I trying to accomplish? Right? What's the end result? Okay, where am I now? What is in the way? And by the way, sometimes I always like to start with the positive. What's worked until now?
Sure.
Oftentimes it might be nothing, but
Sure.
something's working because you're still going. Until you tell
Mm-hmm.
me you throw in the towel and you're done, you're still going. So what's working? You still have a little spark inside. You know that you're made for something more. You know you have an impact to make, right? So you're not stopping. Something's working, but a lot of things aren't working, and that's fine. We can tackle each challenge as it comes, but then eventually we can make a plan for execution and delivery to be able to draw out a map and to get to our goal. So
So you just said a lot. I just to unpack that a little. I love what you said about you start speak his language. And I think that is so also underrated. I'd like to think more are embracing that and starting to really understand, because that is such a brand forward thing and a brand strategy thing. Is you have to speak your, whoever your ideal client, ideal audience is, you have to speak their language. And a lot of times that's not happening. There is often a disconnect from or between, whether it's a marketer, a coach, an executive, a brand, and the client or the end user. There, and sometimes that disconnect is really wide, and people don't realize that, or the business leaders don't realize that. So I think that is huge. And you have to know, though, how to speak their language. And that goes back to getting clear and really knowing who you're speaking to and what they want, and all of that. So that's great. And then the other piece, what I heard that it sounds like you did effectively, is getting them to understand, or maybe getting that person to understand the power and the need of all of these teams and these moving parts communicating and getting on the same page. And we see that often as well within organizations. And sometimes even with a solopreneur, you tend to think, well, okay, it's just me doing this. But sometimes the solopreneur is not in sync with the different parts, the different aspects of him or her business. And the help that they do need, they may not really realize all the help they need because they haven't gotten clear on these different aspects of their business or even their offer. I mean, so
Yeah.
goodness, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
That's, yeah. Do you want me to, did you want me to go back to
Go,
the
yeah,
first?
go back, go back.
Okay. So, in terms of teams, I think what's really important, and I think that this is really, I think, where this is where I come in usually, because I think in terms of like speaking the language, so there's a few things that I think we have to look at. The first thing is you have to understand where you are in the business, right? If you're the business, if you're the
Mm-hmm.
business owner, if I'm speaking, if you're listening and you're a business owner, I think one of the most important things that I learned from my father, who owned a business for 25 years and is my number one role model for what it means to lead an
Mm-hmm.
incredibly special business organization. Um, One of the most important things to remember is that the more you can humble yourself to listen to the employees, to the managers, the more that you show them that you want to hear, that you want to improve, that you
Mm-hmm.
want to be better, that you want to increase collaboration, the more people are going to be willing to speak up. So,
Right.
the first job that I had was at my dad's business. I knew the culture there was everyone wants to be better, everyone wants to help each other. It was very unique, like really, really special, and everyone wants to hear how they can improve. People don't want to be told they're doing something wrong. People don't want to be told that they have to change. Okay, that's, our natural human behavior. So we have to like take into account that if you're running a business, it's the biggest gift that you can give is to be able to communicate to your team, to leadership, to managers that you want the feedback, because ultimately we're all there to create a better experience for whatever it is that we're selling or serving, or whatever the product
Mm-hmm.
is, right? So that I think is really important to remember, how much like human behavior plays a role here. And I think that through my training and experience, like I've learned over the years, also through making many mistakes and speaking to the wrong people at the wrong time or saying the wrong things. But ultimately, if your goal is to help drive the business to success, leadership wants to hear it. Now, do they really want it? They really want to hear it. Do they want to hear it? I don't know. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to know
They
that.
should. What you're essentially saying is a good leader should want feedback.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. A good leader should want feedback. And so if you're positioned if you're in a leadership position in your company, the biggest gift that you can give to people is to show them that their opinion matters, that you care to hear what they have to say, that you
Absolutely.
want to improve, because ultimately, right, like, you want to go to sleep at night knowing that everyone, at your company is happy, and vice versa. I knew that I was going to sleep at night knowing that I did the best job that I could for my company, because we're all trying to drive the company to success. No matter what position you're in, if you're hired at the company, that means you're providing value in some form.
Mm-hmm.
So number one is, um, whatever position you're in, to always make sure that you understand, like, what value are you providing, where
Mm-hmm.
is the business going, and how are you contributing to driving that success, right? Always understand where are you going, right? So if I started out as a UX designer on the product team, so as a UX designer, I needed to understand, where is my team trying to go, what's my team trying to do, what's the product department trying to accomplish, what's the business trying to accomplish. And these are not things that are just communicated across the board. I would say, assume it's not going to be communicated, and take it upon yourself to ask these questions, because the more that you
Mm-hmm.
ask, what are the business objective goals, then the more value you're going to bring to the company. So
Mm-hmm.
that I think is really important. There were 2 points that you made. The first one.
Well, you answered my last question. What I last said was more about, I was commenting on what you said and the experience you were describing when you were talking to this business leader. And just because I think there were several gems in what you said about that. And I, even going further with what you're saying now, I mean, feedback is so incredibly important. And I think it's funny you said, you have to take into account human nature, human behavior. And I think many of us don't want to be challenged. Many of us don't want to hear, you can do this better, you can do this differently, you're not giving this your all, you're being resistant to change. A lot of times we don't want to hear those things, although they are often true. So I just think it speaks to a lot of what you're saying, speaks to mindset. It speaks to how we approach things, and sometimes even what we bring into our businesses, our jobs, other things we're doing, even from childhood, and certain baggage, and possibly even trauma that we have, that keeps us from really being more open to, how can I be better? Like, if that's the overarching theme, because you keep saying you need to know where you're going, you need to know where you're going, and every time you say that, I think in a way that is so simple, but in another way it is really profound, because we often don't think about what seems very simple, and you mentioned that earlier as well. But what does that really mean? What does that really translate into? So, yeah, the overarching thing with me is, it really may require a shift in your way of thinking for you to get clear, and for you to really be able to move forward beyond, the noise, the chaos, all this other stuff going on.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, again, these are the four, like, overarching questions, depending on, like, the engagement. If I'm working with a one-on-one client, or if I'm going into a team and we're, facilitating workshops across a few months, um, we break down these questions, like, really, really, like, break them down, to help really understand. I would say the where are we going, and by the way, that can change. Like, this is not like a set in stone. Like, those things, like, change, they evolve, things happen, right? It's again something that just has to be constantly reevaluated.
Right.
um and it's not, again, this is not like you sit down, you do it once, and you put it in some sacred document that you just, like, put away and don't look at again. This is something that comes up all the time. Like I said, I do it daily, weekly, monthly. And again, those 4 questions. And I would say, where am I now usually is pretty much across the board. I'm overwhelmed, I'm confused, I'm lost, I'm unsettled. I'm not trusting this. I don't think I'm cut out for this. I'm not in the right position. This is just, this is a mess. But then when I say, okay, so then what's standing in the way from getting to where you're trying to get to? That's usually when we dig a lot deeper, because usually it ends up being a lot about wanting to get things, right, the all or nothing mentality, the perfectionism, the black and white thinking, the, patterns and habits and behaviors that people have gotten themselves into, which ultimately are what's standing in the way from them being successful.
Right. Right. So I want to ask you this. We've touched on this, and you've talked about this as it relates to your clients or your clients end users. But let's talk a bit more about customer experience. And I'm sure your background in user experience has informed this. But what would you say you've been able to do, or perhaps it's something that you seek to do in giving your clients a better customer experience?
That is a good question. I think probably in the way that I break down the process
Mm.
and show people that I'm going to help them by walking them through the process together. We're going to do this together, but that at the end of the engagement, they're going to be equipped with a toolbox for execution and delivery that they have, that they can do on their own. I really seek to empower my clients to really start to stand on their own feet and believe in themselves. And again, I have done, and I do here and there, done for you services. I really enjoy done with you. That's really what I do. I'm so passionate when I'm working with a client. I don't go to sleep at night without making sure that that client is set up for success for the next day, and I'm thinking about this client on a constant basis. That's just who I am. That's my personality. So that, and I think that really comes through in terms of the experience that my clients have. Like it really that and this is why people have asked me why I haven't done like bigger programs or bigger memberships. I really just appreciate having relationships with my clients. It's really important to me, and so making sure that experience is something that is real and authentic. I don't know. I end up really connecting with the people that I work with.
Well,
And
I love that you said connecting, because that is another kind of buzzword, but one that frankly goes over the heads of a lot of people, and it's not always really happening. Like when we say connection, a lot of times real connection is not happening.
yeah,
So I love that you said you really like the done with you model. I tend to really like that model and lean more into that model as well. Done for you certainly has its benefits, but sometimes when you do something for someone, they don't truly appreciate it. And then if at some point, and I know there are certainly from business owners to other leaders who, certain things you really don't want to do yourself, but then there are other things, and certainly things that are more connection driven, more human interaction driven, that leaders really should be involved in. I mean, there are certain things you just cannot, or you should not outsource. You shouldn't get someone to do it for you. So
yeah,
I really like that whole aspect of done with you. I think that is definitely a big part, or can be a big part, to a better customer experience. So we could go on and on. I might have to have you on for a part two, I'm thinking. But as we wrap up, the other thing I really want to bring out, and this has to do with even how we connected, speaking of connection, and how we initially connected, was on Substack. And I think number of people in my audience may have heard of Substack, but may not really know what it's all about. And then, of course, I am sure there are some that's like, Sub, what? Even though it has been around at this point, I think about 4 or 5 years, it possibly longer, but it is still very much an evolving platform. Uh, what is it about? I know what it is for me and a number of others, but what is it with Substack for you? Because I think even on your LinkedIn profile, you're like, I'm going all in on Substack, and like I'm a Substack creator. What has it been? What is it with Substack that it has kind of made you say, hey, this is my place, my tribe?
Yeah. So what I've found about Substack is that there's just so many genuine, authentic people who want to connect without any other ulterior motives going on. So I was participating on a different platform. I don't want to mention the name, but I was on a different platform that was, more about building community.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked that idea, of building your tribe, building a community, being able to, when I was done with, I had like a live challenge, for example, a live 3-day challenge that I was running. And so people would come through the challenge and then they would join the community to be able to, like, a lot of what I do of action mapping is, maintenance. So, we were having weekly mapping calls and whatever it was very nice. What ended up happening is that it became a lot more of the community. The way that it was marketed was, come join communities. Um, this wasn't the way I was running my community, but like the platform was starting to take a direction of build a community as a way to basically create a glorified sales funnel and dump people into your
Mm-hmm.
glorified sales funnel. And then, you know, so I really, that was not in alignment with what I was trying to do. I was not trying to, create a glorified sales funnel. I really just wanted to be able to connect with the people who I had already engaged with. And it just seemed like a great way to do it. It's kind of hard for me to like keep up, with emailing like, previous clients and stuff, unless we're like,
Mm-hmm.
currently in a working engagement. So I just thought it was like a nice way for me to, still have a relationship with people. It really just became so salesy, and it just is not in alignment with who I am and what I'm trying to do. So I ended up going into Substack because I had already been on Substack since November of last year. In November 2024, I started my podcast, and I literally just came into Substack once a week to launch the podcast because it sent it out to all the other platforms, and that's what I use Substack for. I didn't really know much about it, but once I was leaving this other platform, I figured I wasn't going to start investing in a whole new platform. I might as well go to somewhere I'm already on. So I was already on Substack, so I just came to Substack. And what I found since then is that there are just so many incredible creators who are just there to share, what it is they're doing, learn from other people, just a real, genuine, authentic vibe going on here. And again, it's September 11th, 2025. I don't know what it's going to look like, moving forward. But I should say, up until this point, I've been really impressed with the authenticity of the people who are on there, just really wanting to connect with other creators, learn, and I really appreciated it. It was very refreshing to be able to connect with incredible, thought leaders and coaches and people who just genuinely wanted to connect.
Yeah.
So that was just very refreshing for me. And so I really do. I enjoy writing. I don't really like think of myself as a writer. I
Mm-hmm.
think of myself much more as like a workshop facilitator, a leader, execution architect, I don't know, a
Mm-hmm.
builder.
Mm-hmm.
Writer was never really in my vocabulary for myself. I don't know, but it's really just been a really great place to connect with others. I am on LinkedIn just because a lot of my people are there. But in terms of where I'm starting to just like find my place, I think the business professionals are just starting to talk, hear about Substack,
Right.
and I'm excited to really show the more early stage startups and small businesses the benefits and the unique vibe that Substack brings. So
Yeah, I agree. I've been pleased with what I've found as well on Substack. And it's not to say, because I don't want anyone out there to think, we're painting this really rosy picture and it's some kind of social utopia. It's evolving. No social media platform, no online platform is perfect, because of course it's made up of people and none of us are perfect. But in terms of, if you're looking for something, I think, different, and especially if you have been really big on, I'm going to mention a couple of platforms. If you've been really big on Instagram and really big with TikTok, and nothing against those platforms. I'm on both, although not really TikTok anymore because my account got hacked and I couldn't get it back. And that's a whole other conversation. Not to
oh,
mention, who knows the future of TikTok at this point. But any other platform that has become, or seemingly become, more about clicks and appeasing algorithms and how you look and how you show up. And notice what I just said. Don't miss what I just said. How you look and how you show up. Those are not the same thing necessarily. So there are certain platforms that highlight more how you look versus how you show up. So if
mhm.
you are more concerned about just being able to show up and show up authentically as you, and connect with other like-minded people, and some not like-minded, that can also be a good thing. Everyone doesn't have to agree or share your unique perspective, but more than likely they probably won't. But there's still an appreciation for that. I think Substack is certainly worth exploring. And I also just want to touch on something else Tamar said about podcasting. Those of you who are podcasters, or you may want to be a podcaster, Substack can be a great place to launch your podcast, because it allows you to have a podcast, to launch a podcast, and even share your podcast to other networks through Substack. And that's free, you guys. I as a podcaster, and my podcast journey has been kind of up and down for the last, 5 or 6 years. I've paid for podcast hosting, as a lot of podcasters do. And this is an opportunity now for you to have a podcast. And with a number of other features, you can do video, you can do audio. Substack has several really robust features. It's free. So just keep that in mind, and more than one way to monetize. Um, so this has been excellent. Tamar, share with folks how they can connect with you further, and how they can just keep up with exciting things you're doing, what's happening with the action mapping method, and how they can take advantage of that method.
Yeah. So LinkedIn or Substack. I know that there's some hesitation when people don't know a new platform. So if you're not on Substack and you're at your stack of software is complete, so LinkedIn /in/ Tamar Stolz. That's TAMAR STOLZ. Reach out, or you could email me, Tamar TAMAR @tamarstolz.com. And if you are in Substack, then definitely message me. The action mapping method is my publication, and there's a lot of exciting things that I have coming up. I definitely, the coming year it will be interesting to see, how many engagements I have. I have, it's kind of, I guess I should say it's like two different types. I have my clients who I'm meeting with one-on-one on like a more regular basis. But then I also do like a series of different workshops when I go to work with early stage startups and small companies. So those usually tend to be like around 3 months. So depending on my availability, you know, like we all know as consultants, those of you who are consultants or coaches, it's sometimes unpredictable, but definitely either way, reach out. Would love to hear what you took from this. Any questions? If you want to challenge me, if you want to disrupt my action mapping method with a challenge, I want to hear. Just, you know, be passionate about whatever you're passionate about. Keep going. Times are going to get challenging because that's just life. And just, you know, just remember that you have what it takes. Keep going. Make sure that you have a support system around you. And again, just know where you're going, know where you are, what stands in the way, and how are you going to get there. And once you master those
Ooh.
4 things,
That is the formula. That is the formula.
I'm not making any promises or guarantees. I'm not here to tell you that this is the one and only. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm just here to tell you what's worked for me, what's worked for my clients.
There you go.
Try it out.
I love it. I love it. All right. So you guys, again, make sure you connect with Tamar. I will spell her name again, just in case you need that. And we'll include this information in the description / show notes, depending on where you're seeing this, which could be Substack, could be YouTube. So just look out for that information. But her first name is Tamar. And her last name is S as in Sam, T as in Tom, O L as in Larry, Z as in zebra. So I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys' time. And definitely, if you found some value in this, I'm sure you did. I mean, how could you not? If you found value in it, by all means, let me know, share this, comment, and if you have not subscribed, you can certainly subscribe over on Substack or however you are seeing or hearing this. So with that said, this is Rachel Thibodeau. Remember, take care, take some action. All righty.
Bye.